Most of the time, it feels like we don't have a president. And even though he had a great big interview, it still feels like we don't have a president because it was a great big fake interview, a fake news extravaganza over there on Good Morning America. George Stephanopoulos, Democrat, helping out his fellow Democrat, Joe Biden. Here we go.
Let's talk about the crisis at the border. Some heartbreaking scenes down there right now. And a lot of the migrants coming in saying they're coming in because you promised to make things better. It seems to be getting worse by the day. Was it a mistake not to anticipate this surge?
Well, first of all, there was a surge the last 2 years in 19 and 20. There was a surge as well.
This one might be worse.
No, well, it could be, but here's the deal.
First of all, it's Trump's fault. That's what he says all the time. Always the previous administration's fault. And George, by the way, some are saying, hey, very, very nice. No follow-ups, nothing serious on his part. And Joe got away with a lot. Hey, why should anything be different? He's been getting away with a lot for a very long time.
First of all, the idea that Joe Biden said come, because I heard the other day that they're coming because they know I'm a nice guy and I won't do what Trump did.
This.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. They're not.
They are. And you've been saying come to the border for years. As soon as you get into power, please, migrants, come. It's our job as Americans for you to surge the border. He said it. He said it when he wanted that nomination so bad, and he had to prove how left and woke he was. 2019, go.
What I would do as president is several more things, because things have changed. I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. Great.
Got his wish. It's one promise he kept, huh? How about that? More.
You may remember when we had this unaccompanied children on the border when Barack was president, he called me back. I was in Turkey and said, you got to take care of this. And I was able to get a bipartisan bill passed for almost $800 billion to go to the root cause of why people are leaving. Why are they leaving El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras? Because they're in terrible circumstances, either because of natural disasters and hurricanes, gangs, or violence.
Did you catch that? Did that really happen? Did Barack Obama call him in Turkey? You got to get back here right away. You got to pass a bill right away. I don't think it happened like that. And $800 billion to find out why they're leaving? We know why they're leaving, all right? We know about the challenges down there. What's really going on?
What I did, I spent close to 100 hours with the leaders of those three countries and the UN, making sure that what we would do, for example, in one of the major cities down there, they said the crime rate's terrible. That's why people are leaving this particular city. But we have no street lighting. And the government said, give us the money. I said, I'm not going to give you the money, but I tell you what, show me what you need. I'll get contractors down there. We'll put in the street lights for you because a lot of corruption down there. And guess what? Violence came down.
Aha. Contracts. We'll get you the contractors. He will, because corruption is high down there. Corruption is everywhere, Mr. Biden, everywhere. That is very revealing. All right, some domestic Democrat issues came up about, they asked him about Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. What should he do next?
Let me ask you about Governor Cuomo of New York. I know you said you want the investigation to continue. If the investigation confirms the claims of the women, should he resign?
Yes, I think he probably end up being prosecuted, too.
Wow. Now, they had to have about 16, at least, different meetings about what Joe Biden was going to say to that question, because he never went that far before. He's got his own issues on that matter. And after he talked about it, I have the sense that the Joe Biden press people got on the phone with GMA and they made a little accommodation. They talked about the Cuomo situation for a while. Listen carefully to this portion.
I started with the presumption. It takes a lot of courage for women to come forward. Some are not. Anyway, it takes a lot of courage to come forward. So the presumption is it should be taken seriously.
Some are not. Anyway, they have to be taken seriously. Did you catch that? He caught himself. He stopped. Joe has been accused. He stopped. He stopped himself. All right. Now, that's one version you can find of this interview on the website. What actually aired on television when millions were watching, a little bit different.
I started with the presumption. It takes a lot of courage for a woman to come forward. So the presumption is it should be taken seriously and it should be investigated. And that's what's underway now.
You see what happened? They took out that part. Some of these women, where he caught himself, that's gone. That was an edit. That was an edit designed to help Joe Biden. And it kind of makes sense because, well, Joe Biden is being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos, press secretary to Bill Clinton way back in the early 1990s. It also makes sense why they sat down with George Stephanopoulos, because someone's got to spin these numbers. There was an all-out crisis on the border, and it's far worse than anything that happened under Donald Trump. He was working to fix it. Joe Biden, as we all heard, inviting migrants to show up at the border and demand asylum. He's been doing it for years. All right, still more fallout from the Grammy Awards and a little bit about my take on the Grammy Awards. You remember this? Did you see this? Whew. I mean, it's pretty intense. Now, I've seen all kinds of stuff. A lot of us have because, well, we have phones and materials everywhere now. But we're not expecting to see it on network TV. CBS, Sunday night. We're not ready for this stuff. And we're not even ready for it when it's in our own pocket, although it's everywhere. And I think this material ultimately is damaging. It's alluring, it's there. And I've seen stuff, I'm sure maybe you have, but we don't want to see this on CBS. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. In the old days, this kind of material was relegated to the corner of the newsstand. And to get it, you had to go get it yourself. Woody Allen in Bananas trying to buy an adult magazine. But that's quaint compared to what we have now, right? It's on the TV. Again, this stuff is out there, but it's not for CBS, right? Not at the Grammy Awards. Makes no sense. And when they weren't doing that stuff, they were getting awfully political, weren't they? And saying things about law enforcement that I don't think are particularly helpful right now.
When I was growing up, I was taught in American history books that Africa had no history, and neither did I. That I was a savage, about whom the less said the better, who had been saved by Europe and brought to America. And of course, I believed it. I didn't have much choice.
My 4x4 G63 ain't no more free Lil Steve. I gave him chance.
So that's Lil Baby starts his video off with a police shooting. Happened to be a white police officer, person of color. To say the least, add that to the Cardi B Stallion thing. That was a controversial award show, right? The mainstream media, though, they can't be seen doubting it or questioning it. They have to embrace it. They have to love it.
A lot of people were levitating last night.
Yeah.
Luke is right. You killed it. It was worth staying up late for.
It sure
so
was.
Well done.
Stayed till the bitter end. Changing the clock actually helped.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's absolutely right. For a change, it was good to spring up. It's worth staying up for. The energy was off the charts.
It was almost magical being around people again.
Yes.
The artists, everyone was just so happy. And it was a mood of hope amid the celebration.
I get there's a reason why I'm not sitting at the CBS News table. Did they all think it was that great, that wholesome, the energy, the hope? I mean, if anything, maybe a little bit of diversity of opinion on something like that, but no. All right, something tragic happened, a crime in Atlanta. We'll talk about that for a moment. Did you see this? 4 women in 2 different incidents were shot by a 21-year-old gunman. 4 women, they happened to be Asian, working at massage parlors. A lot of folks thought this might be a hate crime at first. I kind of think that all shootings are probably hate crimes, but this one may have been racially motivated. That's what they were thinking, but according to the suspect, it was not. But when they were reporting this, and I happened to catch that CBS morning show again, this is what they said about the suspect.
The suspect, arrested 150 miles away after a chase, is a white man. His name is Robert Aaron Long. That is his picture there.
Okay, I can see that he's a white man. But the media, they really wanted this actually to be a hate crime. And hate crimes are actually in the criminal code. And if it's motivated by racial bias, that makes it a more severe crime. But pointing out that he's white, is that germane when we can all see it? Or am I being too sensitive here? Look, I've reported on a lot of crime, and you actually stay away from the ethnicity for a lot of reasons. Michael Moore made this case. Michael Moore, the filmmaker, he's ultra liberal. I disagree with 99% of the stuff that he does, but he made an interesting point. And after he did it, news organizations revised how they reported the description of suspects.
How come whenever I'm out here, though, I turn on the 11 o'clock news and, I hear, tonight in South Central, drive-by shooting, or tonight in South Central, this, that, or whatever. I mean, they're not making that up, are they?
No, they're not making it up, but they're choosing what they're covering.
Now, the suspect is a black male in his 20s. We are told he has a large afro, sideburns. He was wearing a silver chain at the time.
Police say the suspect is a black man, 6'1", 160 to 180 pounds, about 35 years in age.
Suspect is a black male, aged 16 to 18.
The suspect is African American. Police
say
the black man.
The thinking was that they were demonizing people because of their skin. People got very sensitive about this, and they started to change the language they used in the news. But now, times have changed. And if the suspect is white, it's have at it. Have at it. I think it was wrong then, and I think it's wrong now. All right. Time for some truth about Trump.
You are fake news.
They said he was lying. They counted all the lies. When they said he was lying, they were lying. He was right about so much when they said he was wrong. Here's one of those classic moments. We have already told you about the Charlottesville lie, and they characterized what he said about those protesters. But this was interesting. It came actually at the same press conference. Listen carefully.
Many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?
Well, it wouldn't be next week or the week after, but 3 years later, Donald Trump was right. The campaign to remove our heroes from the public square. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, even Abraham Lincoln. It actually happened. He was right. He was, though, once again, ahead of his time. And we'll be right back with the National Border Patrol Council Vice President to find out how the media are letting Joe Biden get away with these numbers.